So for a lot of you that don't know, about actually 2.5 weeks ago, I went in for complete hip replacement surgery. And it was a surgery that had been planned for several months, waiting for my retirement. But all along I said, Lord, I know you can heal me. And every Sunday I'd raise my hand, and I was fully prepared for him to heal me. But, he didn't. So I went ahead and I had the surgery, but I had such a peace about having surgery. It's not like me not to get a little jittery before something like that, but even to the point where they were prepping me for surgery, I just had this deep, abiding peace. And the last thing I remember was, I don't even remember going under, but apparently the surgery went very well, but in the recovery room, they decided to give me a couple of really high-power pain medications in my IV, and it was way too much for my frame and my body. They didn't realize it. They rolled me into my room, and just a few minutes later, I stopped breathing. I don't remember very much about this, very little, but I do remember at one point, the me that was like 28, 29, 30, was down at my ankles in an outfit that I had worn during that time, shaking my ankles and just encouraging me to fight. I don't know if that was an out-of-body experience or not, but that's the only really experience I had. And when I woke up for a long time, I really didn't know what was going on. But I knew my husband was by my side the whole time. Only in the last few days have I begun to realize how many people were praying for me. I lost my phone in the hospital, so for about 10 days I did not have a phone. And a couple of days ago, I was sitting in my recliner complaining about the pain from therapy. And I had gotten my new phone in the mail, so I activated it. And I looked at it and I said, no messages. Funny, 10 days. But all of a sudden, they started popping in, 15, 20 messages all at one time. One after the other of people in this body who were praying for me. The most wonderful messages, and it lifted my spirits so. And I've even found out that the 700 Club was called, and all these people were called, and it's amazing how many people were praying for me. But the one thing that I've got to say I'm so grateful for, because I could not fight for myself, that I had a praying husband who knew how to call on the name of God and never left my side and never quit praying for me. And if I ever doubted his loyalty to me and his love for me, I could never doubt it again, because I would not be here, of course, without God and without all of you, but without my husband who knew how to call on the name of God.
From the stuff that she doesn't know, the other side of the story, I was in the room and she quit breathing. And the nurse came in, they did the cold blue, and you can't go but 4 minutes without breathing, without severe brain damage. And if you go much longer than that, your brain's gone. She was gone 15 to 20 minutes. She didn't breathe, I don't know, at all for a while. Immediately, and I never do this, the Bible tells us not to do this in public because people don't understand. I didn't even know what I was doing. Immediately, when she quit breathing, I started praying in tongues real loud. And there were 12 nurses and one doctor in there. I didn't even know that I was doing it, honestly. At that time, the Holy Spirit takes over. You are what you are. And if you are a believer, you are a believer. And so I was praying in tongues real loud, and then I began to cry out to Jesus in a real loud voice in there with all the people in there for 15 minutes. And just cried out to him with all my heart, and went over and laid my hands on her head and pray for her that she wouldn't have brain damage, because she was gray. I'm a pastor. I've seen a lot of people die, so I know what dead people look like. She was dead. It's not every day somebody comes back from the dead, is it? So I left the room just for a minute, and when I did, I just had to get out. When I did, I broke and started crying. As soon as I did that, I heard the nurses say, "She's back. She's back." They didn't know what to do. They were as shocked as I was. I gave her up almost. I mean, she's dead. But she came back. But then for 2 days, her blood pressure that night was 40/20. All the nurses say that's not good. And so I prayed for her all night. And I was so concerned because she was disoriented and would repeat things. So I thought she had severe brain damage. And so the next night I prayed most of the night. And you get in a level of prayer when something like this happens that you can't get any other time. And naturally, I love her so much. And Jesus, you know that. And it was me talking to him as a man, but as God. And him talking back to me. And after I prayed for hours, and I was talking about her brain, and he said, "Philip, let me talk to you just a second." He said, and I've read this story 50 times, maybe 100, preached on it 50 times, read it 200 times, the story of Lazarus. But I have a whole different insight now because the one that raised Lazarus from the dead talked to me about it. It's a whole different concept when the one that raised him from the dead talks to you about it. He said, "You know when I raised Lazarus from the dead?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you think he had brain damage?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." He said, "Your wife will be just fine. When I raise somebody from the dead, they're just fine." And just one other thing. I love her so much. And I meet with a group of guys every Thursday. And I told them, one thing I don't think I can handle is losing my wife. And I said to Jesus, "Please, there's only one thing really that I need, that I have to have, and that's my wife. She's my precious princess. I couldn't do without her. Can't even imagine what it would be without her. And I'm so grateful to you, Jesus." And tonight, when you have this Jesus does this for a reason. There are some people here that need him. And tonight, I believe he's going to heal some of you. We've got to quit treating him like he's not in the service. We thought, well, we had a good service. A good service just means Jesus was there, doesn't it? And we took advantage of his power and his presence. So some of you are going to be healed tonight. Pastor Summer is going to come up and say a couple of things. And then we're going to pray for those that are sick.